They can help their baby by only hurting her. She suffers from a rare disease. Kevin Federici's morning routine consists of pulling on a headlamp, sterilizing a sewing needle, and preparing to pierce his baby girl all over her tiny body. She tries to protect herself with everything she has, kicking, crying, squirming as Kevin's mother-in-law tries to hold her granddaughter still. This terrible process can take 3 to 4 hours, and in 7 hours, Kevin's wife Heather begins again. They both cry when their baby cries, desperate not to inflict more damage to a body already covered in wounds. But this is a treatment that gives them the hope their girl will be cured of the worst disease you've never heard of. And yes, it's the only one available. Elizabeth was born in March 2016. She seemed to be a healthy baby with a round face and strong lungs until the nurses noticed she had no skin on the tops of her feet. Soon there were 10 people in the delivery room. Doctors asked Heather again and again whether she had herpes. No, she answered, no. Then doctors consulted with a pediatric dermatologist who diagnosed her with epidermolysis bullosa, a rare disease that results in easy blistering of the skin and mucous membranes. The children born with such a disease are often called butterfly children. Their skin is as fragile as a butterfly's wings. One nurse changed Elizabeth's nappy and wiped the skin off her bottom, while another gave her a dummy that ripped off the skin around her mouth. Open wounds were all around her body. In 9 days after welcoming Elizabeth to this world, Kevin and Heather were sent back home with a pack of nappies, bandage supplies, and a tiny baby they were afraid to touch. Why are they letting us bring her home? Heather remembers thinking. We didn't know how to take care of her. We didn't know what to do. A few years ago, the Dystrophic Epidermolysis Bullosa Research Association of America, DEBRA, had proposed an ad campaign showing videos of EB kids with the phrase, "It doesn't hurt to watch." The slogan was effective but incorrect. It does hurt to see these tiny babies in agony and parents harrowed by their powerlessness to help. When Elizabeth was born, most of the medical professionals knew almost nothing about EB. It was the DEBRA or DEBRA that proposed some insight into this disease. The folks from there sent the family a huge box of different supplies. The ones from the hospital were damaging the baby's skin, and the director, Brad Copeland, called them. He said, "It's going to be tough," Kevin recalled, "so toughen up, but you'll be able to get through it." That was the most consolation Copeland could offer, and Heather cried when she heard it. According to Deborah, 1 in 20,000 Americans is born with EB. Each of them experiences this disease differently. Some have mild cases that they may not even know about. However, they may blister more easily than most after a long run. Some have such a severe type of it that they die in their early childhood, and some live till their 20s or 30s marked by painful whole-body scarring, fingers that fuse, inner blistering, and a tendency to get skin cancer that kills them in the end. Unfortunately, there is no cure for EB, only a temporary solution that doesn't allow the blisters to expand and damage even more skin while wrapping the wounds to avoid infection. Firstly, Kevin and Heather had hoped their daughter might have a mild type of EB, but when she was almost 2 months old, the blisters were spreading all around her body at the speed of light. Anything could cause new ones. The collars of her shirts, the seams of her socks, and even her own hands touching her toes. "We just want her to hurry up and grow up," Heather said. It sounded a bit weird, but then she explained. A 3-month-old baby can't be taught not to suck her fingers. A 3-month-old will still need to learn how to crawl, causing fresh damage as she crawls across the floor. And a 3-month-old can't tell their parents where it hurts, even though they already know it hurts everywhere. In June, Elizabeth's genetic tests appeared showing that she has EB simplex, generalized severe. Since the disease affects an upper layer of skin, this little girl will cure without having scars, her fingers won't fuse, and she should have an average life expectancy. That day, her parents were in 7th heaven. In 3 months, they received another test result that showed Elizabeth's EB was caused by a fluke genetic mutation that could happen to anyone, but it rarely does. "It just hit me very hard," Heather said, "because I thought, man, what are the chances of that?" When Heather gave birth to her daughter, her retired mom moved in to help them. Heather imagined her mom life as a bright picture where she was pushing a jogging stroller while her dog and baby snuggled together. But instead, they had to send the dog to Kevin's mother, and all of her waking minutes Heather spent working, puncturing blisters, or arguing with insurance companies. Wound care supplies are pretty expensive. The family has to pay $1,200 a month. The Federicis changed insurers twice before finding the one that agreed to pay 70% of the total amount. Due to the nursing shortage, the family has an in-home nurse who visits them once a week and doesn't change bandages. Kevin and Heather spend their weekend on the floor together, Kevin with a needle and Heather trying to keep their daughter still while Sesame Street plays in the background. At first, the woman could bear this procedure, but when Elizabeth grew older and could fight back with her voice calling out in protest, it became more and more impossible every day. Even now, Heather said, if Kevin is trying to pop a blister on her foot and he tells me to hold her leg, I don't like to hold her leg, because if I'm holding it hard, I don't know if it's gonna make her skin come off. The only way to help her is to hurt her. It's a harsh reality that devastates them. Luckily, by the winter, the condition of Elizabeth's skin improved. Anyone who met her could barely notice her blisters. Kevin and Heather weren't sure what was the reason for it. It could have been the new ointment they were using as part of a clinical trial over the cool weather. The family found out that Elizabeth's skin breaks out in temperatures above 23 degrees Celsius, or it was also possible that her skin learned to compensate for the protein it lacks. However, over time, they have faced even more challenges. Elizabeth started eating solids, which meant she was producing firmer bowel movements that damaged the skin of her bottom. The sore caused by her first diaper change didn't heal, and a painful infection developed. The girl also made a blister on the white of her eye, and what's more, with time, the bandage change routine was taking longer than ever. Kevin had to miss a couple of working hours every morning, while Heather was already at the office at 6 a.m. Then she had to be at home by 4:30 p.m. to begin popping blisters again. When the stars aligned, the parents managed to put Elizabeth to bed by 8:30 and start making dinner at 9 p.m. Half the time, I don't even want to eat, Heather said. I just want to go to sleep. But she knows she can't because Elizabeth wakes up 5 or 6 times during the night and needs to be calmed down not to scratch herself. Kevin is more reserved by nature, so his colleagues didn't even know about his daughter's illness. And when Heather's colleagues asked about Elizabeth, she'd say, "Oh, fine," and then I'd walk away, and then I'd cry. On her first birthday, Elizabeth put on a pink crown and a shamrock bib. She didn't know what to do with her Cookie Monster cake, but found that she shared her favorite monster's love of chocolate chip cookies. In general, she is good enough, has straight hair, gray blue eyes, and a nose that wrinkles when she smiles. And she smiles often. She wakes up visibly happy every single day, Heather says. The girl adores wagon rides, snuggles, rice snacks, and her Grammy. In her 13th month, she's getting big, just as her parents wanted her to, and she also does her best to stand. Kevin and Heather suspect that the summer would be a difficult period for them, but Kevin said, "I think it's gonna get better." "I'm scared," Heather said. "I'm scared of infection, I'm scared that people are gonna be mean to her, I'm scared that it's going to ruin her life." But now, Elizabeth is not just a tiny baby with a disease, but the huggable, always smiling little baby girl, and we hope for the best for her.